I think our defensive front's going to be pretty darn good, is what I think. Yeah, it's probably after 2 days, we've had more run stuff than what we have had in the past few training camps.
The Detroit Lions have had an incredible offseason after a year for the history books in 2023. There has been so much that's gone down. To this point, they have been for the most part pretty lucky with injuries, and just overall, I think the Lions are loading up for an even better season starting in just a few weeks, and I'm going to talk about why. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. Alright, so starting off on the offensive side, the Lions were already doing great last season, scoring big in most games. This offseason, they focused on keeping that momentum going. They of course re-signed key players like St. Brown and Penei Sewell, which is huge for maintaining the strength of their offensive line. Plus, bringing in Kevin Zeitler, who's coming off a Pro Bowl season, should really help fill the gap left by Jonah Jackson's departure. However, the Lions' first preseason games against the New York Giants and Chiefs really highlighted some areas that need improvement. The offense struggled to find its footing, resulting in a 14-3 loss, but they did bounce back a bit by putting up 24 on KC. The first game especially was primarily played by backups because there was no reason to risk fluke injuries to some of the starters. So quarterbacks Nate Sudfeld and Hendon Hooker, who are both competing for the backup spot behind Goff, had mixed performances. Sudfeld completed 13 of 24 passes for 96 yards with an interception, while Hooker went 5 of 9 for 36 yards and added 34 rushing yards. Both QBs managed to lead drives inside the Giants' 10-yard line, but were unable to convert the opportunities into touchdowns. The preseason game also showcased some special teams issues, with kicker Jake Bates hitting a 53-yard field goal but struggling with kickoff placement. Despite the offensive struggles, the Lions are using these experiences to identify weaknesses and make necessary adjustments. The team remains focused on improving execution and consistency as they continue through training camp and into the regular season. Overall, while there are still areas to work on, the Lions are really optimistic about their offensive potential, and they are determined to address some of their challenges head on. Alright, now let's dive into the Lions' latest developments as we gear up for week 1. The energy around training camp has been electric, and there is a lot to unpack. First, let's talk about the standouts in camp. Aiden Hutchinson has been an absolute beast. According to many people, he is poised for a monster season. This guy's been wreaking havoc in practice, and it's clear he's ready to take his game to the next level. The offensive line's been looking solid too, with Penei Sewell showing why he was a first-round pick. And offensive line play really could be the biggest X factor of the season. Here's what Hutchinson had to say in a recent interview.
It's just football, and we get all hyped up. I know we got a lot of hype this season, but I always have to remind myself at the end of the day that it's all about it's really, when I get in that field, it's a one-on-one, or sometimes it's 2 guys or 3 guys, but nice. Usually it's one guy, and that really silences my mind and silences all the rah-rah, all the hype videos. I don't know, I'm very excited for the season, but I feel like that's the kind of a tool that I use to kind of lessen those nerves, because I prepared all offseason for this moment.
On the flip side, we've seen some struggles. The secondary is still a work in progress, and there's been some inconsistency in the receiving core. It's not all doom and gloom, but there's definitely room for improvement. And don't take out of context what I said. I know the top dogs will perform. Now, let's talk about Dan Campbell. Last season, he really had the Lions playing with heart. They fought hard every game, and that bite a kneecap off mentality really showed. But this year, he's got to take it up a notch with his in-game decisions if we want to see the Lions in the Super Bowl. Campbell needs to focus on tightening up the defense. We saw flashes last year, but consistency is key. He's also got to keep that locker room fired up. The culture he's built is great, but maintaining it through a long season is crucial. In training camp, the offense has been looking for the most part sharp, but it has been getting tested. Here's what some of the guys on defense had to say about the O.
We got one of the best offenses in the league, so whenever you get a chance to go against them, it's naturally going to make you better. So I feel like we look forward to that and we take it as a challenge. But at the end of the day, they got to play us too, so we're getting them better as well.
In terms of recent news, it's been pretty positive. The team's avoiding major injuries so far, which is always a good sign. There's been some buzz around rookie James Houston, who's been making plays in practice, so keep an eye on him as a potential impact player. Many people have described him simply as a guy that can get after the quarterback. And the defensive line's been a talking point too. Besides Hutchinson, we're seeing good things from Aleem McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike. If these young guys can step up, the D-line could really be a force. One interesting development is the competition at kicker. It's not the flashiest position, but in close games, it could make all the difference. Jake Bates was previously a star kicker in the UFL, and with him just recently going 4 for 4 on the day, it looks like he's going to be the one that gets the starting job. Looking at the schedule, the Lions have a tough start. Opening against the Rams won't be easy, but it's a great chance to make a statement. If they can come out strong in the first few weeks, it could set the tone for the whole season, but the same could be true if they get off to a few quick losses. Now switching back over to some of the players, the receiving core is another area to watch. I expect for this to be the official Jameson Williams breakout season. There's a lot of potential, but I'm sure that long-term injury he had is still in the back of his mind, so managing his return to being a guy that is used on every play is something to look out for. On defense, the Lions have what is considered a revamped secondary. The newcomers will be counted on to adjust quickly. There are key returning pieces, such as Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, that can help with this acclimation with the additions of Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson, and Ennis Rakestraw. After struggling mightily against the pass last year, Detroit added plenty of new weapons to its arsenal. I mean, that last playoff game against the Niners really exposed the secondary, so everyone knew that some changes had to be made. Also, special teams is an area that often gets overlooked, but it's been a focus in camp. Improving field position and making big plays in the return game could be a secret weapon this season. And it's also no question that leadership's going to be a big key. Veterans like Goff, and even Montgomery now, need to step up and guide the younger players. Their experience could be the difference in close games, and just keeping the guys calm and focused in pressure situations. So as we approach week 1, the excitement is building, and the Lions have a chance to prove to everyone that last season wasn't just a one-year thing. If the young talent develops and Campbell can keep the team focused, who knows how far they can go. I really think the NFC North is going to be up for grabs this season. The Vikings now have question marks with McCarthy's injury, the Packers are going to be good, but I think Detroit will be better, and Chicago is most definitely on the come up, but I don't think they are a real threat this coming season. So there's a real opportunity for the Lions to make some noise in the division, and I expect them to win it. As we count down to kickoff, keep your eyes on Detroit. This team is hungry, they're motivated, and they are ready to show the NFL what they're made of once again. It's going to be an interesting ride, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.